Hello, welcome back again to another of the pipe smoking videos. It's very nice of you to join me here in what's left of my studio that I used to on my other channel interview people and occasionally do some monologues, and I'm still doing my monologues on my other channel from here, but what you can't see is the rest of the studio in front of me is actually gone. The main camera desk, the lights and things. I've got a couple of lights here. And over to my left here are boxes full of my book, Biggleswick, The Town That Wouldn't Comply. And they're going great guns. I don't want to mess this book up because it's a potentially one to be sold. If you're interested in that, and thank you to everybody who has, if you have, just email me, richard@vobes.com, and I'll tell you how you can get your hands on a copy. I am going to be smoking my bent pipe today. This one, what is this? Did I smoke this before? It's a Talisman Deluxe. London made, London made. Last time, I can't believe a week has gone past. I was in that very bright waistcoat, Rupert the Bear, everyone was calling me. And it was very nice. I did think of it as a bit like Rupert the Bear, I suppose. It is very decadent, isn't it? I'm a bit more somber, and it's Halloween as I record this. This will go out on Sunday, which is what, the 2nd of November, and will run its course. So I'm afraid to say I haven't got anything special. There's no tricks or treats or any Halloweeny subject. I'm making myself a cup of coffee in this one. Well, I've made it really, it's in this. I have no desk or anything, it's just a pile of boxes I put this on, so I've got to be very careful that I don't tip it over and spill it onto the boxes, because that would be a complete waste of very good coffee and very good books. And how does that work? Spin it round, there we go. So I'm just going to pour that out first of all. I'm actually doing an interview shortly, so I thought I'd record this, then I've got the interview, and then Saturday, which would have passed, of course, in your world. In my world, it's yet to come. But Saturday, I'm going to put this on the floor where I can trip over it. There we go. It's like a little Dalek, a mini Dalek. Saturday, I'm doing a talk with some other people in Glastonbury, and hopefully I can sell some of the books if people are interested. So what am I going to smoke in today's video, you'll be asking yourself. I've still got this wonderful tin that was sent to me, Keep Calm and Smoke Pipe. It had Maduro on it, but that's all gone now. That's gone up like a puff of smoke, or several puffs. So this is a homemade mixture. I came to the end of the plum pudding that I had, and I also came to the end of Burley Northwood, or whatever they were called, that I was smoking recently, and they just had these odd sods. And we've been going off to our little parcel of God's earth, Julia and I always like to take my pipe and something to puff. And when you come to the end of a tin and you're out for the day and you think, is there enough here? When I pause and have a cup of coffee or whatever, will there be enough? I hate to run out. So, and that was the case, and I didn't want to have loads of tins on me, just one tin. So I thought, well, I just mix them up, you know, so I've just mixed them up the ends. I don't like really to do that on purpose, but I have, and I found that I still had a tiny bit of black bramble, which was Sutliffe's. So basically, these are 3 tobaccos that I can't readily get here in Britain. And some of them are discontinued and some of them are only available in America, from what I understand. So they're all in one tin. That's what I'm saying. And I have smoked it, and to be honest with you, it's quite pleasant, isn't it? It's quite pleasant. I say, isn't it, as if you've done that. So it just gave me the quantity that I needed, and actually, in the end, I ended up with more than I realised. So I'm just going to load up the old pipe. And this is a nice pipe in as much as it's got a relatively large bowl. So I am one of those people that enjoy different size bowls. Sometimes I want a very long deep and meaningful puff when I'm on my own and there's nobody else here. And other times it's more of, I suppose, a bit of an old codger type pipe. I believe that's the term, codger pipe, where you've got it and you're doing something, but you're puffing because you're thinking and trying to work things out, but you're using your hands, you're doing a craft, you're doing something, something purposeful. I have gone through all my waistcoat pockets, all my jacket pockets, and I think pretty much my trousers that are clean, for my lighter that was very nicely given to me. And alas, I cannot find it. So it's here. I know I haven't dropped it, and I know I haven't left it. And I really need to go back and see which was the last video I did in which I used it, which is probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And it's one of those things that you put down and you don't realise you've put it down. There's this thing about how not to lose anything, is when you put something down, is to say to yourself, I'm putting this lighter on this cabinet, or on this shelf, or on the table by the door, or in this box. You mentally say it, because that will register on your mind. And then when you go, where's my damn lighter? You'll go, wait a minute. Yes, I put it in this box. So that is an aid to memory, apparently. And I find it works. Of course, if you do it loads and loads of times within a day, you might get confused. Was it in this box that I put it? Oh no, I took it out of that box and then I put it in this drawer. And the lighter, I'm finding with my zipper, it keeps running out of petrol. So much so, and I can barely get the thing alight. But it is alight. And I have here, this should be attached. This is the lovely tamper. We all know what these look like, don't we? That Chris Herriot sent. It's a lovely bit of kit. So it should be attached to something. So I've got that going, I think it needs another little thingy. And let me just get used to the flavour of this odd concoction. 3 unavailable tobaccos. Well, unavailable to me. Very nice, very nice, very nice indeed. So yes, I'm having an interview with somebody. I don't know when it will go out or if it's live or how it is. He sent me a Zoom link, so I can speak to him. And he wants to ask me about my book. I hope it's not going to be a long interview. Cheers. A bit of coffee. That's a black coffee. Can't tell you. I can't tell you much about that coffee, if anything, actually, because I've had it. It's, coffee, of course, like tobacco, like so many things, should be fresh. Well, I don't know about tobacco, because I think the plum pudding was about 9 years old. And of course, fine wines and fortified ports and whiskies and things, so forget that. But coffee should be roasted fresh. This one it isn't. This is one that's been roasted and then in a jar, and it's my occasional black coffee, proper bean coffee, and I'm not really an aficionado on anything or an expert, so to me it tastes lovely, but somebody with a more refined palate will go, oh gosh, that's disgusting. And there's the question, isn't it? I enjoy it as it is. I enjoy it, I think it's lovely, and maybe a fresher one will be a little bit more mellow, or a different bean will be slightly different, or the roasting quality will be slightly different. But I enjoy that. I enjoy what to some people will be an absolute no-no. They'll be saying, no, Richard, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't mix a blend. Somebody has gone to the trouble of making this wonderful blend, and now you're taking two blends and putting them together. It's like taking a product of more than one country, as they describe the mass production of honey, which in the end turns out there's no honey in it. It's probably some sort of syrupy stuff that's been shipped in, sugar and various things with maybe a tiny bit of honey in there, and it's all, big commercial lies, really. There's enough honey to get round the fact that it's honey, 25% honey, 75% something gloopy and sweet. But here's the thing, if you don't have that palate to distinguish the Burley, the Virginia, the dark Cavendish, the Latakia, the Perique, but yet you enjoy it and you get immense pleasure out of something. If the coffee is a little bit old, but you still love it, and it's to you it's delicious, does it matter? And that's the same, I suppose, for wine. Some people have no notion of what wine really is. I'm one of them. And some people will go, that's a fine wine, and that's cheap plonk, and it's absolute rubbish. But sometimes you just go, do you know what, I just like it. And the unrefined palate can be a blessing, can't it? Especially if the whatever it is cheap and cheerful. And so sometimes, in a way, if you train yourself to enjoy something really nice, like a whiskey, for example. I know that Father John, for example, where are your videos, Father John? Come on now, get yourself to act together. You can't start a channel and start ignoring people. But anyway, Father John likes a nice glass of wine and whiskey and beers and things, and quite rightly so. That's not an issue at all. And it's fascinating to see what he drinks, and how he enjoys it. But is it a curse that then you can't go back the other way? Because for me, I can't help watching things, because I'm a filmmaker. I can't help watching things and think, especially, there was I don't know whether they're still going on YouTube, this sort of jump cutting everywhere. You'd have somebody talking and everyone would take out the ums and the ahs, and you'd get these sort of jumps in the edit. Now, to me, I find that intolerable. Absolutely, I can't watch it. If there's all that, where they've taken out the nature of the talk and the thinking time, and it's become so edited, it's edited to death, but it's just one shot, and all the other bit, it gets a little bit sort of jumpy like that, because you've cut into the continuous action, and I can't watch that, because I suddenly am, in my trade or ex-trade, a purist. I want an establishing shot, I want a mid shot, a close shot, I want a shot from over there, and another thing I can't bear, and it ruins it for me, when they have in these television programs or on YouTube. I don't watch television now, so I don't know if they still do it, but on YouTube, they're talking to you, and there's obviously a camera here, and they'll cut to this camera's point of view, and you're now suddenly on the screen talking across like this, blah, 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 and then it will cut back to this camera. That, to me, is extremely bad etiquette and is distasteful. I don't like it. I'm a snob like that, but that's because I make videos, and if you were to cut to the other camera, then turn to that camera. Because the camera, when the camera's point of view is edited in, that is the eye of the viewer. And the moment that you cut to a camera and you're over there, you have now cut off your viewer from the conversation. It's the same as body language. When I went to mime school, M-I-M-E, mime school, not mind or mime school, and learnt to do all this sort of mime stuff, you know, all of this, you learn a bit of body language. And one of the important things, if you're in a conversation with somebody, not so easy on a wobbly chair, but if you're in a conversation, you're standing or sitting and facing somebody on a proper chair, and you're standing and they're talking, if they look away like this and then they come back to you, you might think, all their attention is gone. It might be partially gone because they're looking away like this. But if the chest, and my Desmond Jones, my teacher, said if the nipples are still pointing at you, that's where the heart of you is. So you still have that attention. But if somebody is like this talking to you, their attention is really somewhere else. The nipples are showing where the attention is, and it might be somebody else in the room. And so they're only actually fleetingly with you. I think that's a fascinating thing. Of course, there are going to be exceptions in that, and one of the exceptions is when you're on a swivelly chair that just happened to be in the old studio that you used to use, if you see what I mean. So anyway, that was really the question, was, are you a purist? I suppose that's what I'm asking. Are you a purist? I was going to talk about something completely different in today's show. I was thinking of what can I wax lyrical about when I'm smoking my pipe, and then I thought, I know, I mean, if I remember, I'll have this other subject ready for another time. But I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Are you a purist, and how far does that go? And what will you do? I mean, I know some people who will not have any, say, coffee at home, and they'll go to a certain establishment and they'll say, well, no, I won't drink any of the muck at home, or I won't have instant coffee, or whatever. I always must go to this one place. And then my attitude to his thought is, I don't want to drink their commercial nonsense, because it's one of those chains that are ubiquitous around the world. I would much rather go to a small little coffee shop in which they are making it unique and bespoke for you. I would much rather go to an unbranded coffee shop with a small, somebody who knows, an aficionado, who knows his stuff and wants to make the perfect bit of coffee for you. Whether he is Italian and whether he's Japanese, it doesn't make any difference to me. As long as he knows his stuff and he can make good coffee, then that's where I would want to go, Same with beer. I don't drink beer very often. It's not to say I don't like it, I just don't get a chance to drink it. But when I do, I like to get a craft ale from a smaller company than the big well-known brands and big corporations. For one thing, I think it's better quality. But then it comes back to that other thing. Are you paying more for the quality that you perceive? But you might go to one of these bigger brands, which are much cheaper, and just say, well, I like it, so what? And so I can't argue against that on the one hand, can I? Because of all the points I made earlier. I suppose the only thing that you can say is the product inferior in its quality, and is it doing you any harm if it is filled with other things? So let's take food for an example, and let's say, I don't know, let's take fish and chips. Well, chips, you could go to a chippy and say those chips, they're just absolutely divine. What makes them divine? Who knows? But maybe they are cooked in sunflower oil or some other oil of that nature, and you realise actually that's not very good for you, that oil. Whereas perhaps if it was cooked in fat, proper real fat, it might be good for you. But then you might not like the taste. So that's the thing. And kids are like that, aren't they? Kids, you want to get the kids to be eating healthy, but they get suckered in, I think partially by the advertising, and partially because sometimes the cheap food becomes something they've had over here and over here and over here. And I think there's a sort of a bit of a subliminal thing going on, that they think it's far better for them and they like it. Whereas you can give them food from the farm shop, which has been perhaps produced locally, and they go, oh, I don't like it because it's more flavoursome than they are used to. Because I think a lot of people's palates have not got used to any flavour. But then the same argument is, but I like it. I like the non-flavour. And well, what do? And if you're a mum and dad looking at your child thinking, but I want to feed you something nutritious, what do? That is the problem, isn't it? How are we doing on the old time? I won't be too long in this one because I've got, as I say, I've got this interview. I think it's very easy to become snobby about things, though, and have an attitude with it. You know, because you can be, especially in the pipe smoking world, and I'm not suggesting anybody watching this is snobby in any way, but, you know, some of the over-the-counter brands that have been around for donkeys, that people have smoked all their lives and perhaps never knew about, all these other ones that we now with the internet have access to, all the different Periques and the Latakias and the Virginias and various, and all these amazing blends. Excuse me, that's my dinner. I've had my dinner today this time beforehand. That's why I tried to do it before I had the dinner, because it starts to repeat. But we can get a bit snobby if people say, but I like Clan, or I like Condor, or whatever it is. And why shouldn't they? Gold Block. My old boss, he used to come into the print room when I'd left school at 15 smoking Gold Block. And then he would walk out having lit his pipe and the place would be engulfed in smoke. I don't know whether he's still alive. I did look him up, actually. Have you ever done that? Have you ever, you know, people that you once knew in your teens that were perhaps a few years older than you, maybe 20 years older or something, and you get to that point in life? Have you done that, where you get to that point and you think, I wonder if so-and-so's still alive? Are they around? And if you find out that they're not alive, do you then think of, you know, miss them? Do you mourn their passing if you've just discovered, not that they've just died and they were somebody you were close to, I don't mean that, I mean just people in your life that you just come across and you say, oh yes, he had this problem, or he was run over by a bus, or he just died of old age, whenever, you know, 5-10 years ago. You go, oh really? I hadn't thought about them. And do people still live when you think about them? That's a subject. I don't want to spend too long, but I'd love to talk about that. You know, people who are dead in the physical sense, because I don't think people really die. I don't think the spirit can be killed. And that's a very reassuring thing, isn't it? It's only the physical body can be killed or finished off or cease to function. But, I mean, both my mum and dad are dead in the sense that we understand being alive and dead as physical beings. But when I think of them, when I am thinking of them, if I think of my mum right now and I picture what she's like, at different ages, you know, as I can remember her, she ceases to be dead. She no longer is a pile of ash on my sister's shelf somewhere. Or indeed my dad, a pile of ash on my shelf somewhere. We both have our mums and dads, and I've got, well, obviously. And that ash isn't even them anyway. I mean, I don't, that cremation and the dead body I find is a weird concept personally. Once they've gone, I've only ever seen my dad dead. I mean, I've only ever seen one person dead, and that was my dad. And I missed my mum dying, the moment of death. And that moment between the last flickers of life and then death, you know, it's like black and white. You know, even the last flickers when people might say, well, he's half dead or he's almost gone, he's still there, and then not there. The body, the vessel is empty, like that. And it might seem like it's a glass being drained, but all the time there's water in that glass, there's water in that glass. And then when it's empty, but are they there when you think about them? Do you summon them? Are you summoning? If I think about my dad now, is he here? Is he silently, in some form, here? Is he aware that I'm thinking about him? Has that personality, the spark of that individuality that was once the man, is he still around, even though I cannot see him, I cannot hear him, I cannot smell him, and I cannot touch him? But I can talk to him, but I cannot hear him back. At least I'm not one of those people who is blessed with that ability or those abilities. And I'll leave you with this last thought before I go, for I must get ready for this interview. What is the thought? Hang on. Oh yes, here's the thought. Bit esoteric, I think. When somebody is that you have known and loved, and they're no longer here, and they've passed, as they say, or they're dead, and time has moved on, were they ever here? That's the question. Were they ever here? What I mean is, not necessarily that, you know, and you said, well, if they were never here, you wouldn't have been here, obviously. Well, that makes a lot of sense. But as the moment is only now, whatever's happened in the past, did it ever happen? Because the past is gone, but is there a past? It's gone. There's only now. We can talk about this in another episode, on another occasion, but I must go. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed. Tell me what you've been smoking. We're all in it together, and I do hope that none of what I've said has offended or upset anybody in any shape or form, talking about the dead. I'm certainly not talking ill of the dead. And I hope nobody is frightened of being dead, for I think you can be rest assured that we go on and on and on. Until next time, I won't go on. Bye for now.